Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us on yet another Zoom webinar. By a show of hands, who's sick and tired of webinars that are all virtual? Come on, I don't see your hands going up. Wave them. There we go. So I'm Wendy Gehrig with the Roseville Area Chamber of Commerce, and I have my fellow chamber compadres on the call as well. So we have Robin Trimble from the Rockland Area Chamber. Robin. Tom from Lincoln, Jenny from Loomis, and so this webinar was brought to you, all of you members, from us, because we want you to get all the money that you can get. So it's my pleasure to introduce Kristen York with the Sierra Business Council, who is going to take us all through, step by step, how we can successfully apply for the monies that are available through the Placer Shares grant. And then after you submit it and we wait for the lottery drawing for businesses, you just need to pray. And with that, Kristen, take it away.
Great, thank you. I'm going to share my screen. I have a couple of moves to make here today, so bear with me. The first is...
While we're bearing with Kristen getting set up, I do want to let everybody know that we hope to have this posted online, available for everyone to share, go back and review by tomorrow morning. So if you know of fellow chamber members that weren't able to be with us this afternoon, they can go online tomorrow. Each of the chambers will have it on their website. I'll send it to the county and they can review it at their leisure. So thank you. Okay, Kristen.
Great. Are you seeing one slide? I can't tell. Just one slide, or are you seeing all my backup stuff?
We see all the backup stuff.
Okay, I'm going to switch that so you have to look at that. There you go.
Perfect.
There you go.
So, hi, what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk through an overview, and then I'm going to actually bring up the eligibility quiz and the application, walk through step by step, and then I'm going to go back to some slides. Okay, so I've got a few more moves to make, but stick with me here. My name is Kristen York, and I am with Sierra Business Council, also the director for the Small Business Development Center that is run out of the Business Resource Network in Rockland. Okay, so just some basics. This grant is up to $10,000 per grant. The $5,000 cutoff is businesses with 9 or fewer employees, and those are employees, not independent contractors. For nonprofits, it's with a budget up to $100,000. The $10,000 grants, those are for businesses with 10 to 50 or employees, and nonprofits with a budget over 100,000. Really important, the application opens tomorrow morning at 8 a.m., but this is not a first come, first serve. It is, as long as you get it in before the deadline, everybody has an equal chance. So I urge you not to flood the system tomorrow at 8 a.m. The small business grants will be awarded via lottery. The nonprofit will be a separate review process. The grant closes on September 7th and at 11:59 p.m. and the funds will be dispersed in the beginning of October via check. Okay, so eligibility. The business must be located in Placer County. We've already had a lot of questions about that. They're like, oh, I'm actually located in Sacramento County, but I have clients in Placer County. No go. You must be a tax-paying entity in Placer County. Must be in business as of March 2020 with documented revenues. So if you open up your business in April, May, or June, not eligible. If you purchased an existing business, you would be eligible. 50 or fewer employees, annual revenues between $25,000 and $2 million. We have our FAQs tell you exactly how to figure that out. And you must not have received a PPP loan greater than $150,000. And the reasoning for that is a forgivable loan, so it's seen as a grant if it was processed properly already. Business must be planning to reopen if you're closed and not be on the SBA ineligible list, which is extensive and I'll show you where to find that list. Okay, this is the landing page for the Placer Shares program. And the landing page link, which this is exactly what it looks like. There's some great information here. There is some information about the Placer Shares. To test if you're eligible, that's where you would find that list of ineligible businesses. The priority matrix for which businesses the Board of Supervisors has determined is a priority. The actual, the application assistance, so if you need help, we have our hotline in there and different workshops. A very long FAQ, frequently asked questions, and then some information on another grant, the Placer Shares Eats and Drinks, only for restaurants, which is separate from this grant. And you can apply for both. Okay, the one place that I would recommend you go on the Placer Shares website is the little button that says more information. And this is your grant information checklist. It may be hard to read on your screen, but this is going to give you all the information you need. It's going to tell you what type of paperwork you'll have to upload. So I'll walk through this really quick. It's going to tell you your eligibility. You can figure out what your gross revenue is for 2019. It should be, if you file a Schedule C, it's line 1. If you have a different tax, if you're a corporation or a partnership, it's likely line 2. You could also just look at your end of the year financial statements. How many employees you have. So remember, do not include independent contractors, because independent contractors are eligible to apply for this grant themselves. If you have a salon and you have contracted hairdressers, or an event business and you contract with employees, all of those employees, since they are independent contractors, can apply themselves as a small business. The question about the Paycheck Protection Program, and then 2 very short narrative questions about how COVID-19 impacted you and what you will use the money for. And that is important because Placer County has a reporting requirement at the end of this, potentially, if the federal government comes back and says, we need to know where all these businesses spent this money, you actually will be verifying on your application that you kept records for that money, and you're required to keep them for 5 years. Then there's 3 items you need to upload. Number 1 is some type of verification of your business activity. You only need one of these 4 pieces. Okay, so it could be either a copy of your recent profit and loss statement, a copy of your business tax return, just the front page, a copy of your business bank statement showing that you had revenues and money coming in and out, or a copy of your current business license. You don't need all 4, you only need 1. Then the second item is, you can download this right on the application, a completed W-9 form. We cannot send out any checks without that form, so that's very important. And then some verification of your ID, so either a copy of your driver's license or your identification card. So that's the information you'll need to have with you when you go to the application. Okay, also any grantee must be in good standing with Placer County, state of California, federal government, meaning if you owe them a bunch of money, the list of the grantees will be sent to the county to review first. So we're not reviewing that, the county is, for up to 5 years. And then the eligible use of funds are, $5,000 and $10,000. If you have a small business, I know you can spend that really quick. And this is things like rent while you were shut down, payroll, working capital, if you had to get inventory in, if you had to put PPP up, if you decided you need more of an online presence. It could really be anything related to that from the mandated closures. Okay, I'm going to switch to actually I'm going to pause, see if you have any questions. And you could ask them while I'm switching to my other thing. No questions?
So
okay.
Is this a lottery, so they're not gonna prioritize, for example, fitness centers, salons, all that stuff?
Wow, I could barely hear you on that. Something about the lottery.
So I wasn't sure if this is 100% lottery or this is prioritizing looking, for example, for fitness centers, for salons?
So it's a combination. There is a prioritization matrix, which you can see on the PlacerShare site. And the prioritization matrix was determined, the Board of Supervisors really wanted these grants to go to the businesses with the highest need. And they determined that by what their opening date was. So primarily stage 3 and 4. So salons are stage 1, or I'm sorry, stage 3, they're a high priority. Fitness centers are also, because most of them are still closed, or restaurants with full service dining are in that category. Retail, the non-grocery retails in that category. So businesses that were the hardest hit. And we verified that through unemployment records from the state of California, and the federal SBA actually put out a report about that, as well as 2 other sources. So when the application comes in, it's either priority 1 or priority 2, and then it's assigned a random number generator. So the first lottery will run with the priority 1, and then to the extent funds are left over, they go to priority 2. So it really depends on how many businesses come in. Thank you for the question. Okay. When you open up your application, the first thing that you will be asked to do, it's an eligibility quiz. It's very simple, very straightforward. It's going to ask you, is your business physically located in Placer County? You would say yes. Was your business founded prior to March 1st, 2020? You would say yes, hopefully. Were your annual gross revenues for 2019 less than 25,000 or more than 2 million? Those are 2 questions. And then your number of employees, so 1 to 9, 10 to 50, and have you received the Paycheck Protection Program over 150, and then your eligibility. If you answer no, or this is designed to screen out businesses that are not eligible so they don't get to the application. So you may get a notice like, here's an example, number of full-time employees. If your business has more than 50 employees, you are not eligible. So you should see that right away so you don't get to the quiz. Now, are you seeing me move this screen, by the way? No? Okay. I'm going to swap the screens, sorry. Can't do it, okay. I will go on to the application. So the first part is really, are you eligible? Then it lets you into the application. And that's what I'm looking at. Can you see me moving my screen now? Yes, excellent, okay. Please read everything in this application. It's a lot of what I'm saying already, but a couple things to point out. Just remember it's first come, first serve, so, or it's not first come, first serve. So just take your time. Incomplete applications they won't be accepted, so make sure you have everything ready. We have a hotline for you if you have questions, which I'll put the number up in English and Spanish. We have other webinars on how to answer your questions. The other piece of advice, don't wait till the last minute, till 11:58 on Monday, September 7th to fill it out. I mean, as you know, we've had power outages, there's technology problems. So I would suggest you give yourself somewhere in that window where you get it in, you have time to call us with questions, call the hotline if you have questions, okay? You can also read the FAQs that are on the website. If you need help with your application, and this is all, I'm taking this right out of the application, you have the FAQs to read. You have a hotline assistance available 24/7. It's in Spanish, Monday through Friday, 5 a.m. to 6 p.m. We have, and I will post these hotline number at the end and the dates for the workshops and the office hours. We have 2 workshops. One is this Wednesday. So Emily will walk through this again, and then next Tuesday at 3 p.m. And then we have online office hours. And this is, in the application, there's a live link. It's also in the FAQs. You just click it and register. Office hours are so that you can just come on, you can hear other people's questions, you can ask your question live. So very helpful. Okay, so the first thing, we're in the application now. The very first thing is going to ask you your business name, and then it's going to ask you the type of primary business activity. And this is how the priority is set. So you can see the matrix on the website, but you want to, you're going to click on where you are, what's your industry. You may have other, and if you do, at the bottom, it'll say, just describe your business. We think we covered them all, but you never know. You never know. Okay, then the second page. Does your business operate from a physical location? Meaning, do you have a storefront or is it a home-based? And the question is, second one is, are you home-based? Are you a minority-owned business? So this is your determination of whether you're a minority-owned business, and we are using the Small Business Administration guidelines for this. So it could be women-owned, veteran-owned, Asian Indian, Asian Pacific, Black, disabled, Hispanic, Native American, or not applicable. So, and if that would be if your business is 51% or more, then you are minority-owned. So you would click yes, and which category you're in. Your number of full-time equivalent employees. So the full-time equivalent, if you have 20 employees that work half-time, you have 10 full-time equivalents. Okay, so pretty simple. Just do your best on this question, and remember, do not include your independent contractors. Okay, your annual gross revenue, this is just where do you fit? Is it less than 25,000? If it is, you probably didn't get past the eligibility questions. If it's over 2 million, you probably didn't get back. It should be in that sweet spot of 25,000 to $2 million. And then the Paycheck Protection Program. The reason it's 150 is that's a verifiable number that the SBA has published. And those tend to be the larger businesses that had access to more credit. So this program is designed for the smaller businesses. Then the two narrative questions that I talked about, you have the character limit of 1,200. It's just describing, I had to shut my business down. I had to lay people off. I had to throw all my food out or give it away. I had winter inventory. I had to spend money on spring inventory. Whatever your situation is, just let us know. And then how you will use the grant funds. And you can just do a list. I'm going to use, say I have a $5,000 grant. I'm going to use $3,000 for rent, $1,000 for a contracted employee, and I'm going to use $1,000 to update my website. Very simple. Just very, very, very simple. Okay. Then you get to the required documentation to be uploaded. These are you only need 3 items, remember. So I don't want people to get confused by this question, documentation to verify that your business exists. It's only one of these. Your profit and loss, your tax, just a front page of your tax return. I don't need your depreciation schedules. I don't need all of that. Copy of a bank statement showing your business name or your business license. So one of those, you can take a photo with it from your phone, you can scan it and attach it, whatever is the easiest for you. Your W-9, you'll be able to download that right on the application. It's a very simple form. And then a copy of your ID. We have to verify that people live where they say they live. All of this information is required. If one of those things missing, the application will get kicked out. And then the final thing, so I'll just stop and see if there were any questions right there on that's the whole application. Now we have a bunch of verification questions. If anybody has any questions, you can put it in chat too.
Hey Chris, on the ID for nonprofits, I mean, was it like the executive director just do that, or?
Yeah.
I mean, okay.
Yeah, executive, and actually what they'll ask for there is also on the nonprofits, they'll ask for the IRS determination letter. A copy of that. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And I also had one quick other question.
Sure.
Back in the beginning, when you had nonprofits with 9 employees or under, and a budget of 100K and under.
Oh, sorry.
So we have.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a little over 100K, so.
Then
will
you're
I not be eligible, or how's that work?
No, you're totally eligible. Yeah, the employee number is only for the small businesses. Thanks for that, Tom. I appreciate that. The nonprofit is only on your revenue, so you'd be eligible for $10,000.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry, thanks. That was a great question. Okay.
Kristen, it looks like, sorry, we have another question in the chat. It says, what about the ID for corporations?
Your CEO, I mean, we're going to verify that you have a business from either your financial statement, your tax return, etc. We just need to verify that the principal, that there's an address in Placer County somehow. So a person is attached to that, okay? Verification. So these are all just questions, yes or no, and you're just going to click you're going to click a box that basically puts your initials. I verify that my business was impacted by COVID-19. That's directly or indirectly. You may not have closed, but all your customers went away, or your supply chain was disrupted, etc. This is my only application to Placer Shares grant program. It's only one business, one grant. So make sure that you do that. If you have 4 business partners, make sure all 4 of you are not applying, because you're really only eligible for one. If you have 4 locations, have each business partner do a different location, but it's one location, one business, one grant. I will continue business operations post-COVID. If you know you're not going to reopen, that you're not eligible. I will use my funds for the purposes listed above. These are taxpayer dollars, so we have to be careful about that. You can't take the money and go on vacation or buy a new car, not eligible, unless you're a delivery service, and that's key to your business. And then verifying that you're being true about your revenues. And then you're also making a declaration that you have no lawsuits or outstanding warrants. And again, this is because it's federal money. We're required to ask this. That no probation, parole, or felony. You can explain this. If you say, oh my God, I had a felony DUI 20 years ago, that one's going to be okay. If you just got out of prison for murder, that's probably okay. Yeah.
Hey, Kristen, we had a couple of questions on the application, if you don't mind my interrupting you. Lori said that the application states that your business could be open on or before March 1st, but the qualification question states prior to March 1st. So how does that get answered?
If we have somebody that opened their business on March 1st, they are eligible. Yeah, if somebody opened there on March 1st, March 1st is the date given to us with the CARES Act funding. So if you open on March 1st, how unfortunate, actually. Yeah, but thank you. That's a good clarification.
And then just one more clarification from Katie. So the application is the same for small businesses as it is for nonprofits, correct?
It's slightly different. And you will be able to see, though, you can actually go onto the Placer Shares right now, and you can look at, and the reason I'm not covering them is because the Placer Community Foundation and Tyler Truckee Community Foundation are doing their own webinars, but you can see that sheet that I showed you that had the checklist. Their checklist is already up as well on the Placer Shares site, so you can see what you'll need. They're slightly different. It's not, it's more on impact on the community. Other verifications that you do not work for Placer County, you're not engaged in internet gambling, you're not delinquent on child support. And then finally, that you are in good standing with Placer County, state of California, and the federal government, meaning you can't have any outstanding judgments or liens with the federal government to receive grant funding from the federal government. You can explain it. If it's something that's reasonable, it happens, then just explain it. Lottery, that you understand that the business grants are by lottery, and then you're going to do an electronic signature. You type your name, just as I understand everything I read, and today's date, and then you submit. Please go back. So you can save your application and go back to it. So when you log on, you are going to get from Placer Shares, you're going to put in your email address, and they're going to have you set up a password. Make sure you write that password down and you keep it, because you can do this. You can go back and make sure it's all right. You don't have to just do it all in one time. It'll save all your information. So that's really important too. Let me go back to some important things here. Okay, are you seeing my slide now, Placer Shares requirement?
No, we're not. And then while you're pulling that up, Kristen, what about number of employees? Is this prior to the closure or after?
Prior to the closure.
Prior to the closure, okay.
Yeah. Yes.
There we go.
Okay. All right. Whoops. Okay, so here are the things that are really critical to remember. Make sure your application is complete. Don't hit that submit money button until you're perfectly okay with it. If you get partway through and you're like, God, I don't know the answer to this question, or what should I do? Call our hotline. We can help you. If the hotline can't answer you, they'll call either myself or Emily or Jess directly, and we'll get back to you, either by email or by phone. Take your time with this. Don't rush. Don't like, it doesn't matter if you get it in at 8:01 tomorrow morning. That will not matter. You're going to get assigned a random number. Once your application is in, it is final. It'll be, and the reason we have to do that is it'll be really difficult for us to go in and make edits with, we're expecting thousands of applications. And remember, your expenses need to be COVID related. No exotic vacations or Ferraris. Okay, it's got to be related to your business. Upload all your requested information: the W-9, your ID, and your business verification, and for a nonprofit, your IRS determination letter, which you can download online. This is due on September 7th, 11:59, but don't wait until to even 10 o'clock that night. I would say get it in. If we have 1,000 people applying in the last hour, you never know, it can crash the system. So we're hoping that these spread out. And then call the hotline if you need help. And I'm going to share that number right here, at the bottom. Couple other things. One is we are part of the Small Business Development Center. So for anybody on this grant, you are eligible for free business counseling through the SBDC. We have counselors all over the region. Right now we're doing all of our meetings by Zoom or by phone call, not in person. Typically they were in person. If you were looking for counseling that's free to you, just email us at info@sierrasbdc.com. And then if you still want more help on this, we have a workshop on Wednesday at 10 a.m. and next Tuesday, the 1st at 3 p.m. The nonprofit workshop is this Thursday at 10 a.m. All of these will be recorded and posted on the Placer Shares site. And then the office hours I mentioned, where you can just casually log on and ask a question. Maybe I would recommend at least getting the application started. So if you stumble on something, you can ask us a question. But we have this Friday at 11 a.m. and then next Thursday at 4 p.m. And that's all available to you. And our hotline, we've already had a bunch of calls today, 877-969-2870. And they're just really, we tried to think of everything, but you never do. One of the questions that came in today was, the business opened in 2019. His sales were less than $25,000 for 2019. But for January through March, they were already more than 25,000. That's totally fine. If you opened this year between January and March, you're going to use your projected sales during that time. So.
And then Kristen, what about a couple of questions? So one of them being, how many grants are you planning on distributing?
Well, it depends on the breakdown between the 5,000 and the 10,000. It could be 800, it could be more. So we're going to exhaust all the money, or actually 700, it could be 1,400, but I doubt that they'll all be less than 9 employees. So it'll be somewhere in the 1,000 number. Yeah.
Okay. And then another question that came in the chat is, does minority-owned businesses, does that affect the priority of the applications?
Yes, it does. All minority-owned businesses are priority 1, and that was a decision by the Board of Supervisors. We know that, especially in the PPP and the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, minority-owned businesses were not as well served, and the Board of Supervisors wants to make sure that those businesses have a priority.
Are there any other questions that people have for Kristen? I have one, and that is, where will the application be available and when?
Oh, sure. Tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. and it will be available at this website at the bottom, placer.ca.gov/shares. And they'll have the link up here. I believe it's right here, eligibility to apply. And you'll click right there and you'll go right to the application. I don't have a live link on this one, but I did it earlier. You can see the link, but it won't be live until tomorrow morning. But that's where you want to go, placer.ca.gov/shares.
And I Googled it on my phone, and it was pretty easy to find. So I just Googled Placer shares with Placer County, and it was the first link. So
it's great. In the meantime, you can look at the frequently asked questions. If those are really comprehensive, I think, but it is good to go.
Yeah. And then Kristen, another question is in regards to the minority-owned measure, how does that work for nonprofits? Are they still priority 1 as stated for the businesses?
Only with the businesses. Yeah, that's really since it's not a lottery with the nonprofits, there's a different process they'll be reviewing, and that's, there's a lot fewer nonprofits than businesses. So there's roughly 16,000 businesses. We know not everybody's going to apply. Some are very large. We don't expect any car dealerships to apply, but you never know. But the nonprofits, both Placer Community Foundation and Tyler Truckee, they know their market pretty well. 501c6s are eligible for this. They may not know them as well. So important that if you are a C6 on this, you really do a good job of describing your impact, because it's all about impact in the community.
And then where can people find the reference to eligible and ineligible business types?
Sure, right on this eligibility to apply, or I can pull it up, it's long, or in the frequently asked questions, they have it. But essentially, here it is. I'll tell you what it is. It's anybody doing anything, I'm going to say, and these are set by the SBA, and there were a couple that were added on by Placer County, so I'll tell you what they are. Anything that is remotely related to a SIN business, so you can guess what those are. Anything related to cannabis is not eligible. If you multi-level marketing, so if you're or a pyramid scheme, not eligible. Airbnb and VRBO, not eligible. So those are types that were added on. Yeah.
Okay, well, again, I consider ourselves very fortunate to be in Placer County and our businesses having the opportunity to apply for the $7 million available, and then our nonprofits applying for the $1 million available. There's going to be winners and losers, and that's going to be the unfortunate part, but I think that your process, I know that you did a lot of best practice research and tried to make this a win-win for everybody. So we thank you for that. And we will be, again, pushing this information out. We'll post it on our website. We'll make the link live, however we do it. And then may you be inundated with applications.
We're expecting a busy day tomorrow. And there's our hotline. And again, if you're just you know, if you're struggling with your business, we're always happy to help you. In, you know, not just with this application, but your business, and all that is free to you. So,
Okay.
all right. Well, thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Kristen.
All right. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you, everyone, for attending.